I've been thinking about you. Yes, you, the person watching this right now. I know that sounds strange coming from someone you've never met, but I want you to know that this message is meant specifically for you. Leave a comment saying message if you want to hear what I have been waiting to tell you personally. You know, people think they know me from what they see in the news. But what they don't see is that late at night when the world gets quiet, I think about the individual people who might be watching these videos. I think about you sitting there maybe feeling like your dreams are too big or too small, maybe feeling like you are too old to start something new or too young for anyone to take you seriously. Maybe feeling like you've made too many mistakes or haven't made enough of an impact yet. Here's what I want you to know, and this comes from someone who has failed more times than most people have even tried. You are exactly where you're supposed to be right now. I know that might be hard to believe, especially if things feel difficult or uncertain. But every single person who has ever done anything meaningful started exactly where you are, not knowing what comes next, not feeling ready, not having all the answers. When I was younger, I didn't have a master plan. I just knew I wanted to work on things that mattered, even though I had no idea how to get there. Let me tell you about the early days of my life because I think it might help you understand that success isn't what it looks like from the outside. When I was 24, I had $40,000 in student debt and was living in a tiny shared apartment. I was eating nothing but pasta and hot dogs for weeks because that's all I could afford. Most nights I would lie awake wondering if I was completely crazy for thinking I could make something of my life. I had no business experience, no connections in any industry, no safety net if everything fell apart. What I had was curiosity about how things work and stubbornness about not giving up. But I also had something else. I was genuinely excited about solving problems that bothered me. It felt impossible and thrilling at the same time. I remember one particularly dark period where I was so broke that I had maybe 2 weeks of rent money left. I was applying for jobs, getting rejected over and over. One potential employer told me I didn't have enough experience. Another said my ideas were unrealistic. I started to wonder if they were right. Maybe I was fooling myself. Maybe I should just accept that some people are meant to do ordinary things and I was one of them. But then something clicked for me. I realized that the people rejecting my ideas weren't the people who would benefit from them. They were looking at everything through the lens of how things had always been done, not how things could be done better. That taught me something important that I want to share with you. Don't let other people's limitations become your limitations. Just because someone else can't see the value in what you are doing doesn't mean the value isn't there. When I started my first real venture, everyone said it was too risky. Friends told me I should get a safe job with a steady paycheck. Family members worried I was throwing my life away. Even I had doubts most days. Our early attempts failed repeatedly. Each failure cost us money we couldn't afford to lose. After the third major setback, we had resources for exactly one more try. If that didn't work, it would all be over. I remember the night before our last attempt lying awake thinking about everything that could go wrong. My hands were shaking. I felt sick to my stomach. All I could think was, what if this doesn't work? What if everyone was right and I've wasted years of my life? But then I thought about why I started in the first place. I thought about the problem I was trying to solve, about how much better things could be if someone figured this out. That bigger purpose was stronger than the fear and doubt. The next day it worked, not perfectly, but well enough to keep going. That taught me that sometimes you have to risk everything for something you believe in. Even when you're terrified, I'm sharing these stories with you because I want you to understand something crucial. The difference between people who eventually succeed and people who isn't talent or luck or connections. It's the willingness to keep going when everything looks impossible. You probably have challenges in your life right now that feel overwhelming. Maybe financial problems, health issues, relationship difficulties, career setbacks. Maybe you're caring for aging parents while trying to manage your own life. Maybe you're dealing with depression or anxiety that makes every day feel like a struggle. I can't solve those problems for you. But I can tell you that the same qualities that got you through past difficulties are still inside you right now. The strength, the resilience, the ability to adapt and keep moving forward. Those don't disappear just because new challenges appear. If you're older, you have something that younger people don't have yet: perspective. You've lived through different economic cycles, social changes, personal losses, and recoveries. You've learned things about life that can't be taught in books. That perspective is incredibly valuable, especially now when everything seems to be changing so rapidly. Young people have energy and fresh ideas, but they often lack the judgment that comes from experience. Your combination of knowledge and wisdom is exactly what many situations need. Don't let anyone tell you that you're too old to start something new. I know a woman who went back to school at 55 to become a nurse because she wanted to help people. I know a man who started his own business at 62 after being laid off from a job he held for 30 years. Colonel Sanders was 62 when he started his famous restaurant chain. Laura Ingalls Wilder didn't publish her first book until she was 65. Frank McCord didn't write his best-selling memoir until he was 66. Grandma Moses didn't start painting until she was in her 70s. These people succeeded not because they were young and energetic, but because they had something meaningful to contribute and the persistence to contribute it. Maybe you feel like you've already missed your chance, like you made too many wrong choices earlier in life. Maybe you took a safe path instead of pursuing your passion, or you didn't get the education you wanted, or you got married too young, or you moved to the wrong place. Here's what I've learned. There are no wrong choices, only different paths. Every experience you've had, every decision you've made, every mistake you've learned from a quest, all of that has shaped who you are today. You can't change the past, but you can use everything you've learned to make better choices going forward. Your current circumstances don't determine your future possibilities, where you are. Now is not where you'll always be. What you can do now is not all you'll ever be able to do. The only real limitation is the belief that it's too late. As long as you're still breathing and thinking and caring about something, it's not too late. If you're younger, you have advantages that older generations didn't have when they were starting out. You have access to information and opportunities that were unimaginable even 20 years ago. You can learn almost anything online, connect with people around the world, start projects with nothing but a computer and internet connection, but with all those advantages comes a different kind of pressure. You might feel like you should have everything figured out by now, like everyone else your age is more successful or more confident or further along in life. That's an illusion. Everyone is struggling with something, even if they don't show it. Everyone is making it up as they go along, even if they seem to have a clear plan. Everyone feels unprepared for the challenges they're facing, even if they appear confident. The people who eventually succeed aren't the ones who feel ready there. The ones who start before they feel ready, who learn by doing instead of waiting until they know everything. Here's something else I want you to understand. You don't have to change the world to make a meaningful difference. Some of the most important work happens quietly in small communities, affecting individual lives in ways that never make headlines. The teacher who inspires one student to keep trying, the neighbor who checks on elderly residents during difficult times, the person who volunteers at the local food bank every weekend, the parent who raises children to be kind and thoughtful, the friend who listens when someone is struggling. All of this matters. All of this makes the world better. All of this is meaningful work that deserves respect and recognition. You don't need permission to care about things that matter to you. You don't need special qualifications to help solve problems you notice. You don't need approval from experts to try new approaches to old challenges. Start with whatever bothers you most about the world around you. Maybe it's the elderly neighbor who seems lonely. Maybe it's the kids in your area who don't have safe places to play. Maybe it's a local business that's struggling and could use support. Maybe it's an environmental problem you notice in your community. You don't have to solve the whole problem by yourself. Just take one small step to make it a little bit better, then take another step, then another. Before you know it, you'll have made a real difference. I hear from people all the time who tell me they want to make a difference but do it now know where to start. They're waiting for the perfect opportunity, the right credentials, the ideal circumstances, but those never come. The perfect time to start is now. The right credentials are the ones you'll develop along the way. The ideal circumstances are the ones you'll create by getting started. Here's something that might surprise you. Some of the best solutions come from people who aren't experts in the field. They see problems with fresh eyes and suggest approaches that experts would never consider because they have been trained to think within certain boundaries. Your outsider perspective might be exactly what is needed to solve a problem that insiders have been struggling with for years. Your different background, your unique experiences, your particular way of seeing the world, all of that is valuable. Don't let anyone convince you that you're not qualified to contribute. The world needs people who think differently, who ask different questions, who bring different experiences to old problems, and don't let anyone convince you that your concerns are too small to matter. Every meaningful change starts with someone deciding that a problem is worth solving, even if other people think it's not important. Small problems can have big impacts when they're solved. Well, the person who figured out how to make better can openers solved a small problem. The person who created the first online search tools solved a small problem. Every innovation started with someone caring about something that seemed minor to others. I also want to talk to those of you who are dealing with failure or setbacks right now. Maybe you tried something that didn't work out. Maybe you invested time and money in something that failed. Maybe people are telling you it's time to give up and try something more practical. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. It's how you learn what doesn't work so you can figure out what does work. Every failure teaches you something that success never could. Every rejection shows you where you need to improve or try a different approach. Every setback gives you strength and resilience you didn't have before. The only real failure is giving up permanently. As long as you keep learning from what doesn't work and trying new approaches, you're not failing. You're experimenting your way towards success. I know it's hard when you're in the middle of a difficult period. I know it feels like the problems are too big or the obstacles are too high, but remember that every person who has ever overcome big challenges felt exactly the same way at some point. When I was eating pasta and hot dogs every day, I felt like the challenges were insurmountable. When my early ventures kept failing, I felt like maybe everyone was right and I should give up. When I was weeks away from running out of money completely, I felt like I had failed everyone who believed in me. But those feelings were temporary. The challenges were real, but they weren't permanent. With persistence, learning, and help from other people, every one of those situations eventually improved. Your current difficulties are also temporary. They feel permanent because you're in the middle of them, but they're not. Things can change faster than you expect in ways you can't predict, but change doesn't happen automatically. It requires action even when you don't feel like taking action. It requires learning even when you're tired of trying new things. It requires asking for help even when your pride tells you to handle everything alone. Speaking of asking for help, this is something I had to learn the hard way. For years, I thought asking for help was a sign of weakness. I thought I had to figure everything out by myself to prove that I was capable. That's nonsense. Every successful person has had help along the way. Every meaningful achievement has been supported by other people who shared knowledge, provided encouragement, opened doors, or just listened when times were tough. The people who care about you want to help. They're waiting for you to ask. They have knowledge, connections, skills, and resources that could make your path easier, but they can't help if they don't know what you need. Don't let pride or fear or embarrassment prevent you from accepting support that's available to you. Asking for help isn't weak, it's smart. It's how you access resources and knowledge that you don't have on your own. And when you eventually succeed, you'll have the opportunity to help others in the same way. That's how progress happens. People helping each other climb higher than they could climb alone. I want to say something specifically to those of you who feel like you do and fit in anywhere. Maybe you're too old for some groups and too young for others. Maybe your interests are different from the people around you. Maybe you think differently or care about things that others don't understand. That feeling of not fitting in can be painful, but it can also be a strength. The people who change things are often the ones who don't fit neatly into existing categories. They see things that insiders miss because they're not trapped by conventional thinking. Your different perspective is not a weakness to overcome, it's a strength to leverage. The world needs people who think outside established patterns, who ask questions that others don't think to ask, who imagine possibilities that others can't see. Don't try to change yourself to fit into other people's expectations. Instead, find or create spaces where your unique perspective is valued and needed. Here's another thing I've learned that might help you. Progress is rarely linear. It doesn't go steadily upward like a straight line on a graph. It goes up and down with periods of rapid advancement followed by periods of apparent stagnation or even regression. This is true for careers, relationships, health, and almost every other area of life. The people who eventually succeed aren't the ones who never experience setbacks. They're the ones who don't quit during the setbacks. When things are going well, enjoy it, but don't assume it will continue indefinitely without effort. When things are going poorly, remember that this is also temporary and doesn't define your overall trajectory. The key is to keep your long-term vision in mind while dealing with short-term challenges. Don't let temporary setbacks convince you to abandon long-term goals that still matter to you. I want to talk about something else. That's important. The role of luck and success. People often say successful people have been lucky, and in some ways that's true. But here's what I've noticed about luck. It tends to favor people who are prepared, who work hard, and who put themselves in positions where good things might happen. You can't control when opportunities will appear, but you can control whether you're ready for them when they do appear. You can develop skills, build relationships, stay informed about what's happening in areas that interest you, and maintain the physical and mental energy needed to act when the time is right. The more you prepare, the luckier you tend to get. The more you try, the more chances you have for something to work out. The more people you meet, the more likely you are to connect with someone who can help you or collaborate with you. Don't wait for luck to find you. Create conditions where luck is more likely to happen. And don't let other people's success make you feel like you're falling behind. Everyone's timeline is different. Everyone faces different challenges and has different resources available to them. Comparing your inside experience to someone else's outside appearance is a recipe for discouragement. Focus on your own progress, not other people's achievements. Celebrate your own improvements, even if they seem small compared to what others are doing. Every step forward matters, regardless of how many steps other people have taken. Your journey is your own, your pace is your own, your definition of success should be your own, not something imposed by other people's expectations. What matters most is that you are moving in a direction that feels meaningful to you at a pace that you can sustain in ways that align with your values and circumstances. Before I finish, I want to say something about fear because I know many of you are dealing with fear right now. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of judgment, fear of change, fear of staying the same. Fear is normal. Fear is human. Fear is often a sign that you're considering doing something important, something that matters. 2. You something that might actually make a difference. The people who change things aren't fearless. They're afraid, but they act anyway. They feel the fear and do the thing that scares them because the thing that scares them is also the thing that excites them. You don't have to eliminate fear to move forward. You just have to be willing to act despite the fear, to take small steps. Even when you can't see the whole path, start with the smallest possible step, then take another small step, then another. Before you know it, you'll have traveled much further than you thought possible. Remember that courage isn't the absence of fear, it is feeling the fear and choosing to act according to your values instead of letting the fear make your decisions for you. You are stronger than you know, you are more capable than you realize. You have more to offer the world than you give yourself credit for. Whatever you're dealing with right now, whatever you're hoping for, whatever you're afraid of, I want you to know that someone believes in your ability to handle it and improve it, that someone is me, and more importantly, that someone needs to be you. You matter. Your ideas matter. Your dreams matter. Your contribution to the world matters. Even if you can't see it clearly right now, the world needs what you have to offer. It needs your unique perspective, your specific talents, your particular way of caring about things that matter to you. Don't let anyone convince you that you're too old, too young, too inexperienced, too ordinary, or too anything else to make a meaningful difference. You're not to anything. You're exactly who you are, with exactly the experiences you've had, facing exactly the circumstances you're dealing with, and that's exactly what makes you valuable. Share this with someone who might need to hear that it is never too late to start something meaningful. What's the one dream you've been putting off? Your story might inspire someone else to take their first step too.